Well, the games for the 2600 that were direct translations. For example, there was we were working on a Treasures of Tarman, working on one that later became the Tower of Doom that was released for Intellivision. The versions that were released for the Intellivision are far more complex games than the versions that would have come out for the 2600. 2600 did not have the power that the Intellivision had for that type of a game. That's the thing, is the different platforms had different strengths and different weaknesses, and most of the games that started out on the Intellivision were better on the Intellivision. A few of the games translated very well to the 2600, but in general, a game designed for the 2600 should be totally designed originally for the 2600. Now, there is one other unreleased game for the 2600 that's finished, but because it was based on an arcade game, we don't have a license to release it, but we're working on that. We're hoping at some point you're going to see one more Atari 2600 game from that era released, we hope, in a limited edition for collectors.
So you would say that's pretty much all the unreleased games are almost been accounted for then, in other words?
For the games that were done at Mattel Electronics, yes. Now the thing is, there's thousands and thousands of games out there that people had in development at different companies for the 2600. No one can even account for all the games that were released for the 2600, since there were so many games released overseas, so many games that were released in new packaging, so many games that came out in one thing and then they put two games into one. There's just an incredible number of games that were released. No one can keep track of that. The unreleased games, no one will ever probably be able to come up with an entire roster of what was developed. At Mattel, however, the games that were actually in development, we have a pretty good record of what was in development. There were a few games, because we did use APH, an outside source, and there was another company that we were using toward the end for the 2600 games. So since there were outside consultants, they were working on some stuff that they might not even told us about originally. So there may be a few other things out there, but for the most part, we think everything, the M Network 2600 games are accounted for. We've got them all listed on our website, and we're trying as much as we can to make sure that the ones that are completed are out there and available, either in a cartridge form, or we hope at some point to be able to release them into an emulator form.
All right, last question. Do you know Jerry Lawson, the guy that made Channel F, or even where I could contact him if so?
I believe, I was talking to somebody, and I'm not sure that it was him that I was talking to. Now that I think, I'd have to go back and look at my records. At the CGE last year in Burlingame, I was talking with someone who was involved in the Fairchild stuff, and it may have been him that I was doing it. I have to go back and look at the business cards and see.